as we go beyond the greenhouse, we go into an area that isn't all desert. It's a higher area that we find in many of our well, when you go to Cloudcroft, New Mexico, or go up into the mountains, you pass through a montane area, which isn't the big pine trees and isn't the yuccas. It's grasses, it's shrubs. We have the Arizona cypress here, which you find along with pinon. It's a beautiful gray evergreen tree that gets to be pyramidal in shape, a wonderful alternative to junipers. It gets to be, and it gives you that evergreen look that you want. It is a big tree though, it gets up to 15 feet tall, but it would be a great accent plant if you wanted a real pretty evergreen plant in your front yard. This is the New Mexico olive. It's also a great plant. That is a small tree we saw previously, but this one you can see its form better here. If it's a very, very cold winter, it loses all its leaves. If it's a mild winter, it loses just part of its leaves. Behind there is a great plant, and that is it's called the Mexican flame bush. That one right there. It's great. It's evergreen. It has those bright orange flowers, great for hummingbirds. It attracts many, many hummingbirds. That's a great flowering plant. And then here, right next to the Arizona cypress, is a walnut, or wild walnut, that you find in the canyons of our own mountains. It makes a small tree. It doesn't really make a traditional tree, but it makes little walnuts that are like black walnuts. You can eat them. They are not the big giant English walnuts, but it's a very interesting specimen to put in your garden, and you can find them every once in a while at some of the native plant sales that are held by the different universities in the area. This one is our screw bean mesquite, or the tornillo. This is a wonderful mesquite tree. It's a great tree because it can take many different kinds of conditions. It can take super, super dry, and it can also take something that floods all the time. It grows naturally in the riverbeds where it can take water all the way up to the trunk and sit in water for several months, and then it can turn around and just sit in dry, hard soil with absolutely no water for the rest of the year. And what's interesting is the screw beans that come off of it. It has small leaves, so it has a very pretty light shade. It's awkward when it's young, but it makes a very beautiful tree as it gets older. This particular tree is about 5 years old. It was struggling for a while, and then it hit our water level underneath the Keystone Botanic Gardens, and it went crazy. So a really very low maintenance tree, but it is a wild tree. Then we go through other plants you find in the Montane area, and these are oaks. We have many different kinds of oaks here. They are much slower growing, but they give you a wonderful look in your garden. As you can see, this one is a gray oak. It has a bluish gray color. It is evergreen, and eventually will get big, but it is an Arizona gray oak. Then over here we have what we call the escarpment oak. It is a greener oak with little wavy leaves, as you can see. Very nice. But I wanted to show you, we let these oaks just grow with all their leaves on. We don't trim them up right away to make them into classic trees. And the reason why we do that is oaks are very slow growing, and if you trim up their leaves, they have less food and they slow down in growth. We let them grow for about 5 or 6 years as big bushes, and then we start trimming up the lower branches and make them into multi-trunk or single trunk trees. So please, when you buy a tree, don't just cut it right up and make it look like a little tree. Let it just be its own form as a juvenile, and it'll grow much faster for you, and you'll get a bigger tree, a healthier tree. This is another form of the Arizona cypress. They come in many different forms. They come in blue, gray, they come in more columnar, they come in fat, they have all different varieties. And this little oak tree next to the Arizona cypress is called a Gamble's oak. It only gets to be 12 feet tall. It's kind of not really liking El Paso because it loves Cloudcroft and Ruidoso. It's more of a mountain oak. It can be grown though here in our area, and it doesn't make a shade tree. It just makes a really pretty nice little accent tree because it has the pretty lobes and it looks like a real oak. This is the hackberry. You get to see its form much better here. It's just a wild look. It just kind of sprangles out. When the kids come and we're giving them the botanical tour, we always tell them that this is the Whomping Willow from Harry Potter, and all the kids instantly relate to it. So we try different ways to get kids to get into botany, and you know, we find that it's not that hard of a stretch. They all love natural things, including plants.